Jenny Upham. It's the 24th of February 2015. So just before half term, Jen, you filled in the arrangement questionnaire. How do you feel you did with that? Alright. I'd agree with that. I think you did probably better than alright. I think you did quite well. A lot of it is common sense, really. A lot of people who aren't on a music course probably will be able to answer similarly, really, but you've used some technical language, which is really good, which is what we're looking for. With arrangement, there is no right or wrong, so that's why it's a questionnaire, not an assessment or an exam, something like that. And also, rather than this teaching you and then setting an assessment, I thought I'll give you all the questionnaire, and then we can have a chat about it. We can record the evidence that way. So you still learn the same way, but you're not going to get a mark out of 9, you're just going to get feedback. So there is some written feedback on here which you've already looked at. So I'll just quickly go through it in your own words. You can tell me about how you feel, questions and comments you might have. I'll just quiz your knowledge just to demonstrate for the camera that you've got some understanding of what you think arrangement is. So, in your own words, I know you've already written it here, but just for the purposes of the camera, how would you describe arrangement? And how is it different to songwriting? I know it's early, but if you think about the difference between someone who writes a book and someone who edits a book, different roles that they would have.
It's sorting out how the song goes, like the chorus and the verses and stuff.
Exactly. Good. That's pretty much it. The chorus, so the arrangement is like a sort of really logical, not quite as exciting process, and the songwriting process is that initial spark where you feel you get that buzz and you're up till 4 in the morning writing and stuff like that. The arrangement is a process that comes after that's just about getting the material to a point where it's accessible to the audience, yeah? So presenting that material in a way that they understand. So when they they can hear the song the first time, they know that the chorus is about to come in, just from the feeling of the music, yeah? So we also use something called dynamics as well, which is like loudness and quietness, essentially, in simple terms. So, I've asked you here why might it be a good idea to have several different arrangements, and you put so you can decide the best one. So you're right, but it's very, very simple language. I know you can do better. So why would you need more than one? So you've got to decide the best one, but the best one for what? For what reason? Think about where you might be before. So the best one might be not the best one for that environment. The best radio arrangement might not be the best arrangement to play an open mic. The best open mic arrangement might not be the best one to play in a rowdy pub gig. The best rowdy pub arrangement might not be the best one to play at songwriters, candlelight, kind of, we can hear a pin drop kind of thing. Give more artistic license on those kind of things, yeah. You see what I'm saying? A lot of artists will rearrange the track each time they do it, or they'll have a specific arrangement rehearsed for each individual gig, or they'll change the arrangement on stage as they go through it. Not so much with bands, but with the kind of stuff that I do. When I've got a small group playing with me, it's usually just drummer, bass player, and female vocalist, and maybe a melody instrument. It's not like this, we've all got a real set piece. It's basically my songs with a backing band behind it. So I can feel free to change the arrangement here and there, and the musicians are good enough quality to know where we're going. So if they're really, really vibing a particular song, add an extra chorus, or go around the verse and the chorus again. And the musicians will know to expect that. Or I'll just give them a little cue as well, just a nod of the head or a slight turn of the body, the musicians know to be watching and to look for those cues. For example, with medleys and stuff, sometimes when I'm doing a rowdy gig, or if it's upbeat or I get an encore or something like that, I'll do a medley where I'll play 3 or 4 songs that are the same chord progression. And it'll be different every time I play it. Sometimes I'll start with one song, Sometimes I'll start with the second song, sometimes I'll start with the third song. And it's the same 4 chords all the way through. So we just keep up as you go. So I hope that helps you. Because you're a singer-songwriter, you see. So the reason why I'm going into that much depth with you, I've not done that really with the others, is the fact that you could do that on stage as well. If you're playing with a percussionist and a bass player and they know your songs well enough, you'll be able to just change the arrangements literally halfway through the song, and they'll be able to keep up with you. It's all about going off the vibe of the crowd. Yeah? Now when you start out, you'll probably be very, very regimented in what you do, and then you grow into it. I was like that. It was like, it had to be absolutely like this, and I'd rehearse it 100% like that, and if I didn't perform it exactly like that, I'd be like, oh, I made a mistake. But sometimes the best, the mistakes are the best bits. Okay, so we've talked a little bit here about rearrangements and remixes as well. You've answered that a rearrangement is changing the artist's song. So the artist changing their own song, and a cover is another artist doing a song. I know what you're saying there, but not necessarily. Not necessarily. You're kind of right. But another artist could do a cover and a rearrangement at the same time. Yeah, but I do see where you're going with that. Kind of half right there. So you couldn't name, question 5, you couldn't name any examples of rearrangements. I bet you could if you really think about it. So the one I've given you here is All Along the Watchtower, the Bob Dylan song with Jimi Hendrix. That's probably the classic example. You think about Valerie by Mark Ronson. That was originally the Zutons song. There's loads and loads of remixes of like dance and house and hip-hop styles that get played in the So again, that's going back to the rearrangement being for a nightclub. Yeah? The radio track wouldn't be as appropriate for a nightclub and vice versa. Yeah? So you hit the nail on the head as well with question 6 about the pop song lasting between 3 and 4 minutes. And the chorus coming after the first verse. Well, not necessarily. You might want to start with the chorus. But what about if you've got a bridge after your verse? Yeah? What I was looking for was the time, so I put approximately 1 minute, but we discussed that informally afterwards, and you answered that before you actually read it, so you know that one. But that's for pop music. You know, we're not talking about the avant-garde or forms of jazz or world music here. We're talking about 95% of what you hear on the radio. Don't let that restrict your creativity. Yeah? That's just a guideline. That's just an old cliche, really. Yeah. It's a bit different now with SoundCloud and things like that, but back in the day, if you'd send off your demo to a record label, if you didn't hear the chorus by a minute, you'd throw it in the bin. That was the old cliche. So, it's different now with SoundCloud. The industry's literally changed overnight with the internet and stuff. But that was the old cliche, get your chorus in by a minute. So what makes a good chorus in your own words? I know you put a few things here, but just to put you on the spot a bit. So I'm going to ask you what makes a good verse in a second, but that's more difficult. It's easy if you answer what makes a good chorus first.
Like basic and catchy.
Yeah, no one else has said basic. It's quite straightforward, yeah, it's simple. Obviously catchy, that's the most obvious one. What else is it? If the verses are all different, the choruses are... simple things, people overlook it. Yeah? It's like trying to describe the colour red without using the word red. It's really hard. It's like you use red to describe something else, wouldn't you? So it's difficult to explain what a chorus is in simple English. Because people are like, well, it's a chorus, you know what it is. Do you know what I mean? We hear it 10, 20, 30 times a day. But if we really boil this down so it's absolutely clear, it will make your songwriting more accessible. So what's the purpose of a verse then?
To explain the chorus or something. I think that's what I said. Is that right?
Pretty much. You put really good words in, but it complements the chorus. That's quite intelligent. You pretty much hit the nail on the head there. The way I say it is it sets the scene. It gives the chorus a context. Yeah, like think about Knocking on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan. The chorus is just not knocking on heaven's door. That's it.
Yeah.
Just the song title. And then your verses, Mum and Take the Badge Off of Me, all that stuff, giving it a context, giving the audience an emotional. It's like it's similar to the tension and resolution thing we were doing with the oral assessment, where you've got the chords starting off at home, moving away, creating tension, pulling back to home, and then eventually going back to home. Same with the verse and the chorus, really. The verse gives you all that context. If you have a bridge or a ramp, you get an extra bit of tension as well. Then it's released into the chorus. And usually the two are complementing, so usually the chorus will be onto that home chord as it comes in with the song title. Or sometimes the song title at the end of the chorus. Good. So how many song parts can you name off the top of your head?
Verse, chorus, bridge, instrumental part, I think. It's like solos for instruments.
So we can boil it down into three main sections. So it's good answer you're giving here. You've got bridge and solo. And solo might be quite genre specific. So in some forms of pop music, you might have the solo as a rap section. Obviously in heavy metal, you'll be having a guitar solo. Yeah? In jazz, you might have a drum solo. Something like that. But really, the solo is kind of the middle eight. The middle eight is a section, it's a warm section that comes in about 2/3 of the way through. And it's not always 8 bars long, I don't know why they still call it middle eight. It's usually not in the middle either. But the middle eight is that section that is different to all the other sections. It's essentially a break for the listener before we get around to usually a double chorus at the end, but not always. Now the bridge. Think about a bridge in real life, it just links two sections together. Like two pieces of land together. Yeah. And the Americans use this term ramp to remind us to go up to the chorus in pitch and dynamics. Yeah. And I really like that term. I've started using it myself instead of bridge. So a common arrangement would be verse, ramp, chorus, verse, ramp, chorus, verse, ramp, chorus, chorus. So the ramp is a section, or the ramp or the bridge is a section that is still adding information, giving you context, but it will give it in a different way. It will sometimes it's a repeated section as well. It's quite ambiguous, the ramp or the bridge. Not everyone spots it. Some people will assume it's part of the verse, but it adds that extra bit of tension before you move up to the chorus.
Do they usually go up in tempo or something? Or no?
Not necessarily in tempo, but I know what you're getting at. Yeah, dynamics. Usually the tempo would remain constant throughout. The tempo is not beats per minute. Yeah, you just got the wrong word, that's all. You just got the wrong technical term. I know exactly what you mean. You're quite right, yeah, it builds up that tension. That's I think dynamics is the word you're looking for. Loudness and quietness, essentially. But when you're building up to that chorus, you don't have to have that chorus at full dynamics. Let's say your song starts off around here, dynamically, in your verse, gradually building up, adding instruments to it, stuff like that. When your ramp comes in, it really builds up, gets that chord 5, it's pulling back to home, and then suddenly your chorus comes in and it might go right down dynamics. It might just be one chord in the keyboard with a sustain pedal and another chord. People will still know it's the chorus because it's the really catchy bit with the song title on it, and they've just heard the verse and the ramp and they know it's the chorus. So you might wait till the second or third chorus for it to be at full dynamics. Alternatively, you might start in 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, full dynamics right at the start of the song with the chorus, and then drop down to your verse and then build back up again towards your second chorus. So that's another thing. Dynamics and arrangement are very closely linked, but arrangement isn't just about where your verse and your chorus is, but it's about getting that song to flow overall in terms of your peaks and your troughs as well. So that can be quite difficult for us as solo performers as well, because you've just got a piano or in my case a guitar to work with. So you might want to think about first verse just chord, 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 really simple. Yeah? And the second verse, same chords again but arpeggios. So you know what an arpeggio is? Yeah? simple things like that can go a long way when you're arranging for solo performance. It's a bit different when you've got a band. Then when you tell the bass player, don't play anything in the first verse, just come in the chorus. Simple things like that go a long way. Got any comments or questions about arranging? You're pretty happy? It's just something to think about. When you've written your song, make sure you have a try at 3 or 4 different arrangements. It's all about getting it to flow where the audience can really feel connected with it. So, we've got some written feedback to go on here as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what arrangements you'll come up with for your own tracks in the future. And think about the March TV show as well, with the song that you've chosen. You might want to do a rearrangement for that, or for various reasons, due to membership or song length, or if there's any explicit lyrics in it, stuff like that. Obviously you can't do that in a TV show, you have to rearrange it slightly. You happy here?